Sips to Quench, episode 12. We're going to jump right into it. Remember, we're reading 3 chapters now. So we read chapter 16, 15, and 14 yesterday. You had Abram go and rescue his nephew. The 5 versus 4 kings. Somebody came out, told Abram, yo, gotta save your cousin. Somebody got him. Got his homeboys. They went down there. Bing, 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 bing. Got his cousin back. And everybody else that was there. Gave him back. The king said, yo, let me pay you. Let me give you something to hold because I appreciate it. Abram said, nah, chill, homie. I don't want none of it. Keep it all. Glorious to God. I'm good. Good. He was like, yo, let me give you some sand. Keep the sandal strap, bro. I see it. I see my straps coming off because of the fight. But keep it. I don't want it. Credit goes to God, man. And then God told Abram, yo, fam, I'm gonna hook you up with a kid. Abram said, I don't have one of those. I'm kind of old. I think it's a little slow for me. And God said, oh, all right, that's what you think. Went and told his wife, as couples do, two became one, so he filled her in on everything that took place. And she immediately said, we got to make this happen. It's good news. So she sent her Egyptian servant, said, this is your wife now. And, Abram, they made child. I guess the servant got a little boastful of herself. Yeah, I did that. Sarai cut a little offense to it. Like, yo, Abram, this is your fault. He said, whoa, let's slow down there. You did this. This is your girl. Get your girl. So she was like, you're right. Beat it. Get out of here. And God said, all right, come on now. Met her and a baby in the wilderness. Yo, your son is going to be all right. We're going to bless him. God said he was going to bless his kid. So we gonna make sure he's straight. He's going to be a wild boy, though, but he's going to be straight. Go back, though. Make things right. Come on now. And so she went back. That's about it. So with that being said, we're going to get right into the word. But first things first, let's go into prayer. God, I just thank you for this day. Thank you for allowing us to wake up in our right minds, put air and breath into our bodies. Father, for allowing us, even with our mistakes, still honoring your word, still loving us, still forgiving us, still giving us a way to reach back to you. And so, Father, I just ask that you reveal yourself to us, Father, that you make yourself known in a mighty way where it's undeniable. Father, allow us to, as we're reading this, understand that the circumstance is you always have reached out to us, and you've always given us an opportunity to reach out to you. And you made that possible again through your son Jesus Christ laying down his life for 3 days, rising with all power in his hands, being blameless and sinless, dying the death that we deserve, the separation that we've caused on ourselves, but allowing a path to be carved out, a path to be made back to you. In Jesus' name, thank you. Amen. All right, so right into it. When Abram was 99 years old, the Lord appeared to Abram and said to him, I am God Almighty. Walk before me and be blameless, that I may make my covenant between me and you and may multiply you greatly. Then Abram fell on his face, and God said to him, behold, my covenant is with you, and you shall be the father of a multitude of nations. No longer shall your name be called Abram, but your name shall be Abraham. Whoa, this is Abraham the whole time? That's tough. I didn't know that. For I have made you the father of a multitude of nations. I will make you exceedingly fruitful. Oh, so the name Abraham is the father of the multitude of nations. That's what it means. Okay. I will make you exceedingly fruitful, and I will make you into nations, and kings shall come from you. And I will establish my covenant between me and you and your offspring after you throughout the generations, for an everlasting covenant to be God to you and your offsprings after you. I will give to you and to your offsprings after you the land of your sojourns and the land of Canaan. For an everlasting possession, I will be their God. And God said to Abraham, as for you, you shall keep my covenant, you and your offsprings after you throughout the generations. This is my covenant which you shall keep between me and you and your offsprings after you. Every male amongst you shall be circumcised. You shall be circumcised in the flesh of your foreskins. So first, pause. He said every man male among you shall be circumcised. Now we're going into what it is to be circumcised. So you got to be circumcised in general. So, but God makes it specific now because we understand that he needs to do that. He just told them, I'm going to give you an offspring, and he made it happen himself. So now God says, all right, let me be real detailed with you. You shall be circumcised in the flesh of your foreskins. It shall be a sign of the covenant between me and you. He who is 8 days old, that's young, among you shall be circumcised, every male throughout your generations, whether born in your house or brought with money from any foreigner, who is not of your offspring, both he who is born in your house, he who is brought with your money, shall surely be circumcised. So shall my covenant be in your flesh, an everlasting covenant. Any circumcised male who is not circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin shall be cut off from his people. He has broken my covenant. And God said to Abraham, as for Sarai your wife, you shall not call her name Sarai, but Sarah shall be her name. I will bless her, and moreover, I will give you a son by her. I will bless her, and she shall become nations. Kings of people shall come from her. Then Abraham fell on his face and laughed, and said to himself, shall a child be born to a man who is 100 years old? Shall Sarah, who is 90 years old, bear a child? And Abraham said to God, oh, that Ishmael might live before you. God said, not him. But Sarah your wife shall bear you a son, and you shall call his name Isaac. I will establish my covenant with him as an everlasting covenant for his offspring after him. As for Ishmael, I have heard you. Behold, I have blessed him, and will make him fruitful and multiply him greatly. He shall father 12 princes. I will make him into a great nation. But I will establish my covenant with Isaac, whom Sarah shall bear to you at this time next year. And when he had finished talking with him, God went up from Abraham. Then Abraham took Ishmael his son, and all those born in the house, or brought with his money, every male amongst the men of Abraham's house, and he circumcised the flesh of their foreskins that very day. Imagine you just getting called and saying, all right, got to cut something off, huh? Abraham was 99 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. I mean, if you doing it, I'll do it. You know, you're doing it to yourself. That's a good leader. And Ishmael, his son, was 13 years old, and he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. That very day, Abraham and his son Ishmael were circumcised. All of the men in his house, those born in the house, those brought with money from a foreigner, were circumcised with him. He said, let me do it. Not going to hesitate. I'm going to get it done now. Chapter 18, and the Lord appeared to him by the oaks of the Mamre, as he sat at the door of his tent in the heat of the day. He lifted up his eyes and looked. Behold, 3 men were standing in front of him. When he saw them, he ran from the tent door to meet them and bowed himself to the earth and said, O Lord, if I have found favor in your sight, do not pass by your servant. Let a little water be brought and wash your feet, and rest yourself under the tree while I bring you a morsel of bread, that you may refresh yourself. And after that you may pass. Since you have come to your servant, so they said, do as you have said. And Abraham went quickly into the tent to Sarah and said, quickly, 3 things of fine flour, knead it and make cakes. And Abraham ran to the herd and took a calf tender and good, and gave it to a young man, who prepped it quickly. Then he took curds and milk and a calf he had prepared, and set it before them. And he stood by them under the tree while they ate. He didn't eat, they ate. And they said to him, where's Sarah your wife? And he said, she's in a tent. The Lord said, I will surely return to you about this time next year, and Sarah your wife shall have a son. And Sarah was listening to the tent door behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old and advanced in years. The way of the woman had ceased to be with Sarah. So Sarah laughed to herself, saying, after I am worn out, and my Lord is old, shall I have pleasure? The Lord said to Abram, why does Sarah laugh and say, shall I indeed bear a child now that I'm old? Is anything too hard for the Lord? At the appointed time, I will return to you at this time next year, and Sarah will have a son. He's not playing. I'm not joking here. But Sarah denied it, saying, I didn't laugh, for she was afraid. He said, nah, but you did. You laughed. I know you laughed. If I hear your pain, I hear your joy. Your mockery. I don't know what that's considered. Then the men set out from there, and they looked down toward Sodom, and Abraham went with them to set them on their way. The Lord said, shall I hide from Abraham what I'm about to do? Saying that Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him, for I have chosen him, that he may command his children and his household after him to keep the way of the Lord by doing righteousness and justice. So the Lord may bring to Abraham what he has promised him. The Lord said, because the outcry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and their sins are very grave, I will go down to see whether they have done altogether according to the outcry that has come to me, and if not, I will know. So the men turned from there and went down toward Sodom, but Abraham still stood before the Lord. Then Abraham drew near and said, will you indeed sweep away the righteous with the wicked? Suppose there are 50 righteous within a city, will you sweep away the place and not spare it for the 50 righteous who are in it? Far be it from you to do such a thing, to put the righteous to death with the wicked, so that the righteous fare as the wicked. Far be it from you. Shall not the judge of all the earth do what is just? And the Lord said, and if I find at Sodom 50 righteous in the city, I will spare the whole place for their sake. Abraham answered and said, behold, I have undertaken to speak to the Lord, for I am but dust and ashes. Suppose 5 of the 50 righteous are lacking, will you destroy the whole city for lack of 5? And he said, I will not destroy it if I find 45 there. Again he spoke to him and said, suppose 40 are found there. He answered, for the sake of 40, I'm not going to do it. Then he said, let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak. Suppose 30 are found there. He answered, I will not do it if I find 30 there. He said, behold, I have undertaken to speak to the Lord. Suppose 20 are found there. He answered, for the sake of 20, okay, I will not destroy it. And then he said, let not the Lord be angry. I will speak again, but this once. Suppose 10 are found there. He answered, for the sake of 10, I will not destroy it. And the Lord went his way, and when he had finished speaking to Abraham, new name, and Abraham returned to his place. Really quick, if you go back, God already said, yo, should I let him know what I'm about to do? Which means he just want to go down there because he already knows, all right, let me get Lot up out of here. And he knew Abraham is a caring individual. He's like, yo, I know people are wicked down there. I already know. He knew his nephew was down there, obviously, because I'm sure at the time his nephew probably had like 10 people, so he know at least 10. But God being so dope, he already know, yo, it's going up, fam. That spot is going up. Goodbye Sodom, goodbye Gomorrah. That's it for that city. They are wicked. Also, he hears the cries of people going up, which is interesting. 9 times out of 10 people down there being murdered. Who knows how many, who knows the age, but we know people are down there being murdered because if you go back to Genesis, when Cain killed Abel, what happened? God said, why is your brother calling from me from the ground? You know, so this is something that God gotta put a stop to. Okay, so here we go. Chapter 19. The 2 angels came to Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting in the gate of Sodom. When Lot saw them, he rose to meet them and bowed himself with his face to the earth and said, my Lord, please turn aside to your servant's house and spend the night and wash your feet. Then you may rise up early and go on your way. They said, nah, we gonna spend the night in the town square. But he pressed them strongly, so they turned aside from him and entered his house. And he made them a feast and baked unleavened bread, and they ate. He was trying, yo, we gotta put these boys to sleep, get them up early in the morning, refresh, get them out of here. But before they laid down, that was that Thanksgiving meal. The men of Sodom, both young and old, all of the people to the last man, surrounded the house, and they called to Lot, "Where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us so we know them." And we just try and get to know them. Lot went out to the men at the entrance, shut the door after him, and said, "I beg you, my brothers, do not act so wickedly. Behold, I have 2 daughters who have not known any man. Let me bring them out to you. Do to them as you please. Only do nothing to these men, for they have come under the shelter of my roof." First off, he just said, "Send out my daughters." 2 things. 1, I just want to mention, this is just recording what was happening. This is not God condoning him send out his daughters. God ain't say that. That was not in there. Lot just said that. Also, the fact is that he said send out the women, so they was trying to get busy with the men. No consent, no nothing. But they said, "Stand back, get out of here." And they said, "This fellow came to sojourn, and he has become the judge. You just got here, and now you the judge. Now we will deal worse with you than them." Crazy. Then they pressed hard against the man, they was about to get him, and drew near to break the door down. But the men reached out with their hands and brought Lot into the house with them and shut the door. They struck with blindness the men who were at the entrance of the house, both small and great, so that they wore themselves out groping for the door. They was on such freaky timing that these brothers was wearing, tearing, and got tired. They ain't stopped until they passed out. That's wild. Not focused on the blindness, the fact that they can't see, but they still have one mission. We get into that door. Crazy. Then the men said to Lot, "Have you anyone else here, sons-in-law, sons, daughters, or anyone in the city? Bring them out of this place, for we're about to destroy this place. Because the outcry against the people has become great before the Lord, and the Lord has sent us to destroy it." So Lot went out and said to his sons-in-law, who were to marry his daughters, "Up, get out of this place, for the Lord is about to destroy the city." But he seemed to his sons-in-law to be jesting. They thought this boy was joking around. As morning dawned, the angels urged Lot, saying, "Up. You just told your stepsons to get up, and you ain't leave yet?" As the morning dawned, the angels urged Lot, saying, "Up, take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here, lest you be swept away in the punishment of the city." But he lingered. He's still playing. So the men seized him and his wife and his 2 daughters by the hand, the Lord being merciful to him, and they brought him out and set him outside the city. And as they brought him out, one said, "Escape for your life. Do not look back or stop anywhere in the valley," the whole valley. "Escape to the hills, lest you be swept away." And Lot said to him, "O my Lord, behold, your servant has found favor in your sight. For you have shown me great kindness in saving my life, but I cannot escape to the hills, lest the disaster overtake me and I die. Behold, the city is near enough to flee, and it's just a little one. It's just a little city in a valley. It is a little one. Let me escape there, and my life will be saved." He said to him, "Behold, I grant you this favor also, that I will not overthrow the city which you have spoken. Escape there, for I can do nothing till you arrive there." Therefore, the name of the city is called Zoar. Mind you, the city was probably going to be destroyed. He told him, "Go to the hills." Lot talking about some, "No, I can't. It's so far, the hills. I got to go uphill. What about this little city down the block? Can I go to this house? I'll be on the outskirts." All right, whatever. God has mercy. Okay, he loves you. And also, even if you go back to Abraham, God has patience. Abraham even said, "Yo, don't be angry, because I know I'd be angry. You asking me, all right, what about 10? What about 5? So God is a patient God, and he's merciful. Look at that. We still in Genesis, and we see these things. Okay, so Lot got out of there. Cool. The sun had risen on the earth when Lot came to Zoar. Then the Lord rained on Sodom and Gomorrah sulfur and fire from the Lord out of heaven. And he overthrew those cities and the valley, and what grew on the ground. Oh, God destroyed everything. But Lot's wife behind him looked back, and she became a pillar of salt. She missed that city so much, she said, "Let me get one more look at it." And Abraham went early in the morning to the place where he had stood before the Lord, and he looked down toward Sodom and Gomorrah and toward all of the land of the valley. He looked, and behold, the smoke in the land went up like the smoke of a furnace. So that when God destroyed the cities of the valley, God remembered Abraham and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow when he overthrew the cities in which Lot had lived. Now Lot went out of Zoar and lived in the hills with his 2 daughters. He was afraid to live in Zoar. Why do you think he was afraid? Because God said go to the hills, and you went to the nearby city because God was going to destroy the whole valley. Now he had to skip a spot. Yeah, I'd be afraid to live there too. If God turned around and be like, yo, actually I changed my mind, get out of here. Allowed his 2 daughters. For he was afraid to live in Zoar, so he lived in a cave with his 2 daughters. And the firstborn said to the younger, our father is old, and there is not a man on earth to come into us after the manner of all the earth. I gotta understand what that is. Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve offspring from him. Look at you trying to convince your little sister of debauchery. They think they're doing something noble. So they made their father drink wine that night, and the firstborn went in and laid with her father. He did not know when she lay down or when she arose. The next day the firstborn said to the younger, behold, I lay last night with father. Let us make him drink wine tonight also. Then you go and lie with him, that we may preserve offspring from our father. So they made their father drink wine that night also. The younger one arose and lay with him, and he did not know when she lay down or when she arose. Thus both the daughters of Lot became pregnant, which is wicked, by their father. The firstborn bore a son and called him Moab. He is the father of the Moabites. To this day, the younger also bore a son and called his name Ben-Amin. He is the father of the Ammonites to this day. Whoa, that is the end of chapter 19. The last chapter was a wicked one. Once again, here's the difference in following God's instructions and what he says. All of these characters have done things outside of God's will. Somehow, no matter how good their intentions are, it has been pretty wicked. I think that's a good lesson. I think that's a great way to wrap it up. We praise God, though. Why? Because we've just learned that he is a merciful God and he's a patient God.